For centuries, predicting the end of a human life was a matter of blunt statistics. We took the lifespans of massive populations, found the average, and assumed everyone would follow the herd. These historical tables reduced the variables of human existence down to rows of logarithmic data, providing a general estimate of how much time a person had left. These averages still drive the largest institutions in the country. The Social Security Administration relies on these generalized mortality rates to determine everything from retirement timelines to pension payouts. But an app called the Death Clock abandons these population-wide estimates. It uses artificial intelligence to analyze your specific diet, exercise, and sleep patterns to generate an individualized date of death. The generic actuarial math that once governed our financial planning is giving way to lines of code tailored to the individual. In clinical settings, these predictions are becoming even more precise. Researchers at Oxford developed an AI tool that scans routine chest CTs to identify textural changes in heart fat, spotting potential heart failure 5 years before it occurs. Google's neural networks are performing a similar feat in hospitals. By analyzing a patient's medical history upon arrival, the system can predict the probability of that patient passing away within 24 hours with 95% accuracy. Precision on this scale requires a massive data intake. The Google model trained on 46 billion data points, scanning everything from digital health records to the handwritten scribbles of attending doctors. This information is used to build a digital twin, a dynamic virtual model of a patient's organs that can simulate how a body will respond to disease or treatment in real time. Building a virtual double capable of providing these early warnings requires a constant intake of health metrics, the conversion of a human body into a stream of raw data. To build these predictive models, technology companies do not just rely on medical records. Instead, they actively scrape the public internet. This harvest is possible because tech leaders spent years shifting the social expectations of privacy, creating platforms where sharing our images publicly became the default. Companies like Clearview AI weaponized this environment, collecting over 3 billion photos to train facial recognition systems for law enforcement. In court, Clearview defends its practices by citing the First Amendment. They argue that because our faces are visible in public spaces online, they are public facts that anyone has a right to collect. It is a transition that has turned our personal identities into searchable, unprotected data points for external surveillance. The resistance to this collection is rooted in a legal concept famously championed by Louis Brandeis over a century ago: the right to be let alone. Today, that fight centers on state laws like the Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act, aiming to stop companies from harvesting biological data without consent. The legal argument is simple: converting a physical face into an algorithmic facial geometry is a violation of a person's bodily autonomy. Maintaining our physical privacy now depends on a legal fight over the invisible grid of our own features. Even when the legal battles are won, the data harvested to make these predictions does not simply disappear. Much of it becomes dark data, digital information that is collected by sensors, used once for a specific calculation, and then stored indefinitely. These server racks hold the billions of data points gathered from discarded medical scans and scraped photos. Estimates suggest that 65% of all information inside these facilities is entirely dark, information that is stored, powered, and cooled, but never used again. Every predictive calculation leaves behind a permanent physical footprint. Powering these sprawling facilities requires a massive, continuous drain on global energy resources. The data sector now accounts for more emissions than the automotive, aviation, and energy sectors combined. Digital activities now drive roughly 4% of all global greenhouse gas emissions, a figure that directly affects the health of the global environment. We surrender this information to AI models in the hope of predicting and extending our personal health. The digital systems designed to monitor our personal survival now power a carbon footprint that threatens the collective environment.